One of the largest and second oldest luxury brands in the world is Louis Vuitton. It wasn't a famous brand in the beginning, but in time, with hard work, quality, and innovation, Louis Vuitton became the world's most renowned, valuable luxury brand as it is today. No doubt that Louis Vuitton has grown into one of the top luxury brands worldwide, but the history behind this multi-billion-dollar company started with a homeless boy who came from a very humble background. Although Louis Vuitton is a true rags-to-riches story, the company had been subject to hostile takeovers, countless lawsuits, and numerous controversies over the years as well. So this is the story of Louis Vuitton, and how that tiny family business transformed into the most valuable luxury brand in the world. Louis Vuitton was born August 4th, 1821 in Arnault, France. Vuitton spent most of his childhood taking care of the farm and the crops and livestock. His father, Xavier, was a miller and a carpenter and quickly taught him to work with wood. His mother, Corinne, was a hat maker. There are no records showing that Louis Vuitton received an education. He spent most of his childhood on that family farm, where he used to work from dawn till dusk so that he could feed his family. The family struggled financially, but things got worse for young Louis when he became an orphan at a very young age, with his mother dying when he was 10 years old. His father soon remarried. As legend has it, Vuitton's new stepmother was as severe and as wicked as any fairy tale Cinderella villain. Soon, Vuitton's father also died when he was just 13 years old. So a stubborn and headstrong child himself, antagonized by his stepmother and bored by life in France, Louis Vuitton resolved to run away for the bustling capital of Paris. In the spring of 1835, at just the age of 14, Louis left home alone on foot and began his journey to Paris without any money or food. He traveled for more than 2 years, taking odd jobs to feed himself along the way, and staying wherever he could to find shelter, all as he walked along his 292-mile trek from his home to Paris. During his journey, he even had to face nights when he had to sleep in the woods with an empty stomach and just a cloak to keep him warm. Through the odd jobs that Louis did during his journey, he was able to pick up various skills and learned how to work with metals, fabrics, wood, and stones. These skills later helped him to transform his life. The trek to Paris took him more than 2 years, and he arrived in Paris at the age of 16 in the year 1837. The now teenager Vuitton was taken in as an apprentice in the workshop of a successful boxmaker and packer named Monsieur Marechal, and it took Vuitton only a few years to stake out a reputation amongst the fashionable class of Paris as a new craftsman. 16 years after Vuitton arrived in Paris, Napoleon Bonaparte staged a coup and assumed the title of Emperor of the French. This establishment of the French Empire under Napoleon proved fortunate for young Vuitton, as the Empress of France hired him as her personal boxmaker and packer because of his fine craftsmanship. She provided a gateway for Louis to a class of royal and elite clients who would seek his services for the duration of his life. From being a homeless teenager, now Louis worked in a prestigious job among the royalty, which was a massive achievement. Later on, Louis got married at the age of 33. A few months after his marriage, he left the shop and opened his own box-making and packing workshop, all in Paris. Later on, in 1858, Louis Vuitton debuted an entirely new trunk. Previously, the trunks were made of leather and were dome-shaped so that the rain would fall off the top of the luggage, hence making it impossible to stack them, and the packers had to carry the boxes one by one. Louis noticed this flaw and came up with an idea. Instead of leather, he started making trunks with a gray canvas material that was lighter, durable, and impervious to water. Further, Vuitton's new trunks had flat tops and were rectangular in shape, making them more stackable and convenient for shipping. And this was indeed the birth of the modern-day luggage. Louis had managed to build his professional reputation in the upper class, and his business was booming as he now received personal orders not only from French royalty, but also from the royalty of Egypt. Unfortunately, tragedy was about to strike Louis Vuitton once again, as his business was interrupted by the outbreak of the Franco-Prussian War, which destroyed the French Empire. When the siege finally ended, Louis Vuitton returned to his village and workshop in ruins and destroyed. But instead of giving up, Vuitton immediately devoted himself to the restoration of his business, and within months, he built a new shop at the heart of Paris, which was in a more wealthy aristocrat location. Louis Vuitton continued to work at his new shop, innovating higher quality and luxury luggage until his death in 1892. Despite his death, the Louis Vuitton line did not die, as his son George continued the legacy as he took over the family business. George partnered with the U.S. Postmaster John Wanamaker. He started selling Louis Vuitton products at the U.S. department store, so George worked to expand the brand globally. He also came up with the iconic LV logo in 1896 to prevent counterfeit. The company kept on growing year after year, and eventually, George Vuitton died in 1936, and the company was passed on to his son, Gaston Louis, who acquired it in difficult times, as once again, France was at war. But despite ups and downs, the company kept on going, and after the death of Gaston in 1970, his son-in-law Henry took over. Having experience in business management, he transformed the brand from a family-owned company to the massive corporation that it is today, expanding the empire. Until 1978, he was able to expand Louis Vuitton to many other countries, and by 1987, LV reached $1 billion in sales. He also collaborated with Monet Hennessy, forming LVMS, so that they could expand faster, but unfortunately, Henry was not able to get along well with the president, and he asked Bernard Arnault, a successful property developer, for help. However, inviting Bernard in as an investor backfired in a huge way, as he secretly bought 43% of the shares of Louis Vuitton and gained more power in LVMH. Henry felt betrayed and took Bernard to court, but the court ultimately sided with Bernard. Eventually, Henry decided to quit working for Louis Vuitton completely. Although after this hostile takeover, sales of LV began to crash, but Bernard collaborated with several fashion designers during the 100th anniversary collection. This proved to be successful for Bernard, and now he is the CEO of LVMH and is the richest person in the world, with a net worth of around $210 billion. Today, LVMH continues to be the most luxurious brand that many people aspire to wear, and yet all of this started with a homeless teenager. We hope that you've enjoyed the fascinating story of Louis Vuitton. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video.